But I knew God loved me at that time, because at that time was when Chris Rock cracked the joke on Jada Pinkett Smith. Will Smith got up and slapped the shit out one of the greatest comedians of all time. You know, that had nothing to do with Will, nothing to do with Jada, nothing to do with Chris. Tuning in, you f***ing gave it to Chris Rock.
Stand-up comedy can be tough, and sometimes comedians push the envelope to make audiences laugh. But when does it go too far? That's the question being asked after recent reports that Marlon Wayans has been bullying fellow comedian Chris Rock on stage. In a surprising turn of events, Rock decided to confront Wayans about the situation. What exactly happened between the two comedians? Stay tuned to find out.
Fucking Chris Rock, my evil older stepbrother in comedy. And this is Chris Rock.
Over the years, Marlon has made several jokes at Chris's expense during his stand-up comedy shows. While some of these jokes were harmless, others were quite mean-spirited and seemed to be more like bullying than anything else. This has led to some tension between the two comedians. But the jokes between the two brothers are not uncommon anymore because, according to Marlon, Chris used to bully him too, not only on stage but also on premieres and other important occasions. Reminiscing about an incident like this, Marlon told us how he lost his could-be wife just because of Chris Rock.
Who is it? Chris Rock. Jerry curl, but didn't have enough money for all the grease. So it was like dry Jerry curl, but he had a shag, so the grease would drip onto his shoulders. And he was like 3 different color black.
Looks like he took his revenge by portraying Chris Rock's charismatic profile like this. Oh, poor Chris. But Chris still got the girl and left Marlon heartbroken.
With what could have been my wife. I was so sad, y'all. A tear welled up in my eye and one rolled.
If you go back in the years, Chris Rock was everywhere. Maybe that's why Marlon tried to bully him on his stage comedy by using mean jokes and past memories of them. Look how Marlon recalled the incident when a role was snatched by Chris Rock and he wasn't a bit happy about it.
We're gonna give this role to Chris Rock. I said, who is Chris Rock? He says he's an up-and-coming comedian. He's really funny and I think this role will be good for him. I said, that nigga, I don't know him.
After then on, Chris Rock enjoyed his stardom and Wayans was left crying.
Cried that day, man. I did not to be a hater, but I just felt like that was my opportunity. You gave it to Chris Rock.
Fast forward to present, as you know, it's getting close to a year since one of the biggest Oscars scandals occurred, namely Will Smith slapping Chris Rock on stage after joking about his wife's appearance. With all of the discourse still going about this controversial moment, there's also jokes about the scandal from comedians like Marlon Wayans and Chris Rock himself. Days before Rock's Netflix special drops, Marlon Wayans has an HBO Max comedy special coming up called God Must Love Me, where he uses his talent at impressions and physical comedy to address the Will Smith slap that's now synonymous with the 94th Academy Awards.
I don't know what happened to Will. It looked like he was enjoying the joke. Right? He went and cracked the joke. Will was laughing, that phony ass laugh. And then Jada rolled her eyes up her head like, you nigga. And he went, yeah, that shit ain't funny.
As you saw, the scary movie actor jokes that Will Smith was seemingly laughing during the joke that presenter Chris Rock said when he called his wife G.I. Jane. This was followed by an imitation of Smith's exaggerated leg movements and doing the running man dance, as Wayans continued to joke that Jada Pinkett Smith rolled her eyes at the joke and put a voodoo spell on her husband to defend her honor.
Funny little Chris Rock cracked a joke on Jada Pinkett Smith, and Will Smith mysteriously got up and slapped the shit out of one of the greatest comedians.
He even went as far as to say that the ghost of rapper Tupac Shakur must have taken over the Men in Black actor's body during this moment. As Wayans had a good friendship with Shakur, maybe the late rapper would find humor in using him in his comedy routine. Well, for this whole comedy stand-up, Marlon just have a reason to humiliate Chris, which was revenge. Imagine having one of the most well-known stand-up comedians of all time tell you you're not funny. It was not the last laugh Marlon Wayans failed to get while performing stand-up comedy in front of Chris Rock. It was the first. Wayans says he quit stand-up comedy for 20 years because Rock once heckled him during his act. You know what made me quit stand-up? He said on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, I was doing it when I was like 18 or 19, and then one day Chris Rock heckled me, and I quit stand-up for 20 years. Wayans said he was working through some material when Rock, considered one of the best comedians of all time, let him have it. I was on stage, and you know how you're trying to find it, right? Wayans said, and I was on stage, and I was like, so what else is up? He goes, how about some jokes? And I didn't know who it was. All I kept hearing was his evil laugh. How about being funny? How about that? And I swear I quit stand-up for like 20 years. Not only that, Wayans was quite furious at Chris at that time, and that's what he said about it.
God, give me the strength. God was like, no, son, vengeance is mine.
That's why, for Wayans, the Oscar slap was the punishment for Chris Rock from God for his sufferings due to Chris.
Do that? Well, it had nothing to do with Chris, nothing to do with Will, nothing to do with Jada. I told you, God loves me!
But later, after the stand-up comedy, Wayans covers up the whole thing by saying he was just being objective of the situation and knows that Will and Chris will understand him. He further added, Chris cracked the wrong joke at the wrong moment or the right joke at the wrong moment, and Will had the wrong response on the best day. They mirrored each other in a way, and the experience brought everybody together. It happened, and the discovery for me was hurt watching that because I know them all. This came from a genuine place, and I'm not afraid of them seeing it. I think all of them know my heart. I've always been a really good dude. I come from a good place, and there's no harm ever meant. I just hope that at some point they can laugh at themselves. Well, some of the fans still feel the sting from his show and tweeted, I had no idea Marlon Wayans hated Chris Rock this much lol. While others praise him for his performance that was way better than Chris Rock's special, Goddamn. Marlon Wayans' latest comedy special is funnier than the one Chris Rock put out. Marlon's been holding out on us. What a performer. For the first time on stage, Chris Rock addressed the slap during his stand-up comedy special, Selective Outrage, at the Hippodrome Theater in Baltimore. Y'all know what happened to me? Getting smacked by Shug Smith, Rock said at the end of his hour-long special, which streamed live on Netflix. Everybody knows. Everybody F knows. Yes, it happened. Like a year ago, I got smacked at the F Oscars by this mother. People like, did it hurt? It still hurts? I got Summertime ringing in my ears. Rock went on, referring to Smith's 1991 hip-hop hit with former musical partner DJ Jazzy Jeff. But I'm not a victim, baby. You will never see me on Oprah or Gayle crying. After the audience erupted in cheers and applause, Rock boasted, no, it's never gonna happen. No, F, then S, I took that hit like Pacquiao. According to Rock and his special, Pinkett Smith started this S. Nobody was picking on her. She said me, a grown-ass man, should quit his job because her husband didn't get nominated for concussion. He said, and then gives me a concussion. Rock's big theory, though, was that Smith had slapped him out of displaced anger at Pinkett Smith. Though Smith practices selective outrage, Rock said, everyone that really knows I didn't have anything to do with that shit. I didn't have any entanglements. It seems like Rock was referring to Pinkett Smith's well-publicized relationship with the much younger singer August Alsina.
Will and his wife was her son's friend, okay? Now, I normally would not talk about this shit. But for some reason, these niggas put that shit on the internet.
An entanglement?
Yes. Chris clearly said that Jada ruined Will.
I have no idea why two talented people would do something that low down. What that we all been cheated on. Everybody in here have been cheated on. None of us have ever been interviewed by the person that cheated on us on television. How did that make you feel?
According to Chris, Jada was the root cause for the whole Oscars fiasco, and she didn't really deserve him after cheating on him with her son's best friend.
She hurt him way more than he hurt me, okay? Okay? And by the way, he does that shit. Everybody in the world call.
Well, Pinkett Smith's entanglement did indeed spawn a spate of public hand-wringing, but it didn't hold a candle to the amount of public outrage that the slap engendered.
I'm not sure you run up and punch someone in the face.
And I think, the contract you set up with the audience is that these are indeed jokes.
It's kind of messed up.
At the end of his show, the comedian addressed the moment and his thoughts on Smith, telling the audience that he watched Emancipation to see Smith be physically assaulted. Smith played an enslaved man named Peter who escaped captivity in Louisiana in the 2022 film, which was inspired by a true story. I have rooted for Will Smith my whole life, Rock said, and now I watch Emancipation just to see him get whooped. Looks like the famed funnyman used his latest stand-up special to verbally clobber Smith for slapping him on stage at last year's Oscars ceremony. Among the myriad of people, Rock left no stone unturned as he recalled the moment the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air actor struck him across the face. Fans couldn't help but comment on both Chris Rock and Marlon Wayans' stand-up comedy and sided with Chris. One of them tweeted, I understand Chris Rock joking about Will Smith, but Marlon Wayans doing 10 minutes worth of material on that situation seems weird to me. I can't co-sign that big rudda. And others just enjoyed both shows and laughed. Finally got a chance to see both Marlon Wayans and Chris Rock's comedy. The one that made me laugh the most was Marlon because he masterfully wove his history with the three individuals. Chris needed to get some things off his chest. That's it for today, folks. Until next time, goodbye.